So today's message is primarily from Victoria Safford and her thoughts in a sermon titled Sing Me Awake. And I have her permission to use her ideas. Partially because I knew I was spending all day at the Gallatin Valley Fairgrounds yesterday with turning recycling and clean garbage into art. And we had Beth Whitty and Cammie and several other, I'll talk about this later, but we had an incredible day there. And so this message, and the parents all said, this is the best table at Earth Day. So our message this morning is really about our children, our grandchildren, our neighbor children, the children in our schools, children around the world, kids under our own roof. And I happen to know we don't have a lot of kids this morning because they were spending themselves at Climate Day, and they're bowling this afternoon from 3 to 5. And you are all invited to bowl. It's a family of any size. I will be a family of one. So Victoria Safford describes the Quaker school in Indiana where her daughter was attending. She says there's a brick chapel, very simple, very plain inside and out, and the light streams down through the glass panels onto wooden benches inside. And it's a reminder, it's a Quaker school, and it's a reminder that for Quakers that they believe the light of Christ dwells within. It's not out there, it dwells within. And near the front doors of the meeting house is a statue of Mary Dyer, a Quaker. I don't expect any of you to know who she is, but is there anybody? Yeah, I wouldn't think so. So Mary Dyer, her statue, she's sitting very quietly, her hands in her lap, and her gaze serene. It is a deeply calming presence. And the one depressing thing I'm going to say this morning is that she was hung in Boston in 1660 by ministers of the Commonwealth, not because she was a witch, but because she was a Quaker who refused to be a Puritan. She died defending freedom of conscience and religious liberty. So Unitarians don't claim her, but we do claim to be inspired by her. And despite that story, this college chapel is not somber. It's beautiful. There are trees and birds, sometimes the birds alight on Mary Dyer's shoulder. It's contemplative, where beauty and history meet. It's a sanctuary. And there's silent worship by contemporary lively young people in their late teens and early 20s, because it's a college campus. And they pass under Mary Dyer's gentle gaze. So we have the chapel, but at the back of the chapel, there is a memorial that goes out onto a green. There's a memorial bench that says, in memory of Dan Kinsey, who no one knows who he is, who endeavored to lead others to wholesome and creative fun for the sake of fun and what it does for the human spirit. This is a college, so you have to imagine that 1,000 frisbees has been launched either from this bench or nearby for the sake of fun and fun alone. What fun does for the spirit. And Dan Kinsey would be happy to see those young people with those frisbees. So there's this juxtaposition of these two monuments, the chapel and the bench. Safford said this is a call for conscience, for righteousness, for reverence, and to have a good time. Both, I think, are moments to joy. Mary Dyer spoke of joy. Joy is the love of life, the spark of life, the awareness that this is what life is for. Integrity, gratitude, beauty. To notice the brevity of beauty. Look at our flowers. And to hold fast to what you love and care about. There have been many times in my life, and maybe in yours too, where at the end of a rare day or a rare moment, it might be time in the woods or time by the lake or a hike in the mountains, or just a day spent in good company, or listening to the sound of the birds outside your window. I have written sometimes in my journal, this was perfect beauty. Just a drop, just a glimpse of joy. Safford says, those days don't come often enough, or perhaps they do, and I just fail to notice them. Maybe it was just a fragment. In my experience, that kind of loveliness is not elaborate, not spectacular, or miraculous. It's the way the light falls on leaves or music on the ear. And it often can involve children, yours or someone else's. There are sometimes we have children's religious exploration meetings where we are at the big table and the children are down the hall doing art. Sometimes it's loud. It's always lovely. And we just keep meeting anyway. We are doing important church work until someone says, wow, what a great sound. The sound of the young being young and having fun is always a good thing. And why don't we dedicate a bench to that? Yesterday, I was with several of our UUFB kids at the fairgrounds at the Gallatin Valley Earth Festival. So this is me, this is not Victoria Safford. There was laughter and joy everywhere. Both yesterday and even the kids we had in here this morning, the children provided us with energy and delight. These were lucky children to grow up in community. And our children here are lucky to be mentored by all of you. Parents at the fairground said, you all have the best table here. And thank you to everybody because we had an incredible amount of recycling and trash for them to use, and they did. We will do this again next year. You'll have another chance at this. Victoria Safford says, stop and consider questions posed 700 years ago by the Sufi poet Rumi. What will our children do in the morning? Will they wake their hearts wanting to play the way wings should? He likens them to the birds. Rumi goes on, will they have dreamed the needed flights and gathered the needed strength from the planets that all men and women need to balance the wonderful charms of the earth, so that her power and beauty do not make us forget our own? I know all about the ways of the heart, how it wants to be alive. What will our children do in the morning if they do not see us fly? End of quote. So it's Earth Day this week. Our children learn by example. So let us be joyful and grateful for what the earth and the cosmos provide. Whether these are our kids, our grandkids, our biological kids, our neighborhood kids. Safford says they're always watching. She says they learn by watching, by seeing the adults. They learn from responsible parents, grandparents, neighbors, teachers. They learn by example, by listening to us. And if we are respectable and respectful, if we are diligent and dutiful, if we are thoughtful and thorough, and we are honest, then likely they will be too. Although nothing is guaranteed, it's worth a try. Watching us be kind to one another and to the earth. Watching us being accepting and generous. Watching us be courageous in welcoming new people and opinions. How to think critically, scientifically, and rationally about the earth and about religion. How to develop spiritual discipline, spiritual practice. And remember, spiritual means with or without God. How they can fashion prayers or wishes or intentions that are uniquely their own. How to learn to orient with a moral compass instead of just being in action and not knowing. They learn about religions of the world here in our classes. They learn about Unitarians and Universalists in history and today. They learn that caring for the earth is a theological imperative. You see it not only in our 7th principle about the interconnected web, but if you look closely at the 6th principle, it's also in there, because the 6th principle talks about a just world community. And as we know, the people producing the least amount of carbon are going to be the most impacted. So kids learn their own theology and how to expand the rooms of that house that Rumi talks about. Rumi's question hovers over what they're learning. What will our children do in the morning? What will they do with their hearts that want to play the way that wings should? Remember that college bench. Fun is good. And from a different Rumi poem about the moon and the sky, look at what happens with a love like that between the moon and the stars and the sun. It lights up the whole sky. So when all of us wake up in the morning, sometime during the day we open the paper, either online or in its paper form. We scroll, we watch the news. Much of it is not good. Victoria Safford said, it never has been. She says, I like to read old sermons sometimes, really old, more than 50 years old, a century ago. Great Unitarian and Universalist ministers in great pulpits and in little congregations. Powerful and prophetic voices. I think of them when I'm pacing around while writing a sermon on Friday or Saturday night. I wonder what their lives were like on weekends. How did they muster up a message of hope late on Saturday night? All of them in every decade say, the times are very bad. This is a historic moment when we are called to radical action and transformation of our movements and our faith. They said that all the way back through the centuries. They said it all the way back to the Hebrew prophets, to Amos, Isaiah, Micah, and to Muhammad, and Jesus. Times are bad for the earth, and this is a historic moment when we are called to radical action and transformation of movement and our faith. There's so much work to do, so much to be healed and made whole. At every age, it's tempting to believe it won't get better. But I can't believe that. I stand with the poet who says, anonymous poet, sorry, no other shore, only this bank on which the living gather. No meaning but what we find here. No purpose but what we make. That and the beloved's clear instructions turn me into a song. Whether the beloved literally means God for you or the sacred force of life, what matters is that we are here to sing our love of life, the earth, and one another. That's why we're singing 3 hymns today. In that sense, the trembling awareness that life is brief and it's a gift, and that every day we get glimpses of eternity and perhaps divinity, if that's what is true for you. And our children, this next generation, they're watching us. They're watching you. We carry the weight of the world, but we need to do that with faithful courage. They see adults who care. They see adults who cry over the plight of the planet. But they also see adults who pick up tools and help. We sign petitions. We join committees. We march to raise awareness. We vote. We lobby. Let our children see us in the joy of the struggle. It's all right to let our kids see our concern for the earth, as long as that's balanced with our joy and our gratitude and our gladness. We have to shine the light for the next generation. So turn me into a song, says the poet, the love that will not let us go. Turn me into a song and sing me awake. And let your singing be for gladness. Before our musical meditation, we are actually going to join in a responsive reading from the United Nations Earth Day. It's in your order of service on a green paper. This is what the world is asking of us. I will start. To bring new life to the land, to restore the waters, to refresh the air. To join the earth and with each other, to renew the forest, to care for the plants, to protect the creatures. To join with the earth and with each other, to celebrate the seas, to rejoice in the sunlight, to sing the song of the stars. Join with the earth and with each other. To recall our destiny, to renew our spirits, to reinvigorate our bodies. Join with the earth and with each other. To recreate the human community, to promote justice and peace, and to remember our children. Join with the earth and with each other. We join together as many and diverse expressions of one loving mystery for the healing of the earth and the renewal of life.